Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about my love for software. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, did your love for software engineering grow as the years went by? Yes, I would say so. I still haven't reached this is sort of hard to explain for me because when I first started with software development and when I went into school and like all of these sorts of things, my passion for software was at a level that was annoying to most of my classmates. Uh, like it was to the point where it was an obsession, and in a sense it is still an obsession, and maybe like I'm very happy that I found this thing because I can't really think of any, which is, maybe that tells you something in of itself, because I can't think of what my life would look like if I didn't have this. I really don't know what I would be doing or how I could in any other way feel as fulfilled. Maybe I would have decided, because there was a time when I wanted to do a few things, and I was, now I saw, but at the time I thought I was stupid, so I didn't really think that I could be a software developer. So I wanted to take an easier route in life, but then something told me that no, actually, let's give this a try. So because I always wanted to either become like you know, a tech guru type of person, like when I was younger and so forth. I wanted to either be like a journalist or something like that, and that seemed pretty interesting. But I sort of drifted off into, well, it's actually cooler to make things and so forth. But I also wanted to be a doctor. I had all these like ambitions. I wanted to help people. I want to make things. I want to understand, and I want to like challenge myself to figure things out, if that makes sense. Not necessarily an inventor, but I hope you sort of understand my drive. Like I want to create things, or I want to help people by trying to figure stuff out. I like working on what I call organic problems. I'm not a big fan of puzzles per se. Like it's fun to do, but for the most part, it's more fun for me to just have this. Someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I have this problem with my arm, or I have this thing here. Can you figure out what's going on?" And I kind of go, "Yeah, that seems like an interesting thing, right?" Maybe I could have been a detective. Who knows? But so when I started, it was at a point where I had my own key to the school, and I was actually at school. I think it was almost sometimes 3 hours before class started, the first class of the day. So the cleaning lady arrived after me, and she cleaned around me while I was there studying, because that's how much I loved it. I didn't see any of my friends or like talk to anybody outside of school for a few years, actually, if I remember correctly. Like I wouldn't pick up the phone because I was busy doing this thing. And today it's actually not much has changed in terms of like passion and so forth. The thing that has changed is not my love for the field. It's rather the way to put it is that it's like my love has matured a little bit. It's sort of like in a long-term relationship. In the beginning, you have the honeymoon phase, and like you're like super, super, super in love, and then you like get more into. And this is where you really figure out if you have someone, if you're dating someone who is a keeper. Does the love stay? Do you still love the person, but you're not as crazy, crazy, crazy as you used to be? Because as with everything, things mature and you get exposure, and some of the novelty in the beginning is going to wear off. And that's what's happened to me in software engineering. And the reason why it's happened is more because in the beginning everything is new and exciting, and you're like, there's this ocean of possibilities and like so many ways that you can become a better software developer because you don't know anything, right? But now, after working for so many, like the more you work, the more things starts to become a repetition of what you have already learned. And now it's reached a point where it's almost hard, I would say. Well, it is hard. It is hard to find something that fills my two criteria, because I'm the sort of relentless pragmatist who is so boring because I don't do stuff just because. there has to be a purpose to it. So if like there's tons of developers who get excited about every type of way of like innovation, or like these silly little libraries, or like different ways of doing things, and they do it more because it's enjoyable to them. And I'm fine with that. I mean, but that's not for me. For me, it's all about becoming better or more efficient at solving problems. And when you get to a certain level, it's actually at the point where you can see like 100 packages being produced, different libraries, and just go immediately, why would I have this package? It's like just easy to do A, B, and C. And then you go to the next one. Well, this doesn't really fit any use case that is reasonable. Sure, there is a situation where you could use this, but like it's actually simply to do A, B, and C. Like you get to a point where most of the stuff is just really weird sort of useful things. It's like buying like these sort of garbage products at a gas station. It's like you don't even consider them because there's really not that much you're going to gain from it. And that's where I am today. And so the thing that is beautiful about it is that my desire to learn from other people has been replaced with the realization that it's hard now to just find a tutorial that's going to motivate me and make me like really inspired, but I have my own things now. So it's sort of like, the student becomes the teacher type of thing, where I used to watch like all of these videos and like learn, like just try to figure out how all these genius programmers were working, and now I realized that, well, actually most of the stuff I've already seen they've done, or like I've seen this is a repetition of what they did like a few years ago, etc., etc., and now I make my own stuff instead. And it's actually kind of funny because there are still some areas of IT where I still have that strong drive to get better at that thing. It's just that now things go so fast because you've done all your homework, if that makes sense. You're already prepared for a lot of this sort of stuff where, when you were I was a junior software developer, things would take very long because you try to figure out, you realize that probably if you're a junior software developer very quickly, that if you want to build, say, a website, there's actually a lot of stuff you have to learn before you can make the website. You have to learn about a bunch of surrounding stuff before you can do that thing. And when you're at my level, you may not know exactly everything about everything, but you have a sphere of knowledge that is so big that you can, like, basically in your head fully understand everything practically from, how things are running on your computer all the way up to how the cloud solution that hosts everything and like the pricing systems and so forth, how all that works. And when you understand that entire flow, most of that what's happening is really like, the standard web stuff that you do, it's almost a little bit boring now. So now you have to go into the next thing, which is very interesting, which is things that are much more niched or more complicated, like more computer sciencey things like machine learning, or you can go into security, or like ways of these sort of meta things that sort of or site reliability engineering. Well, even that is a little bit boring now because I sort of know the most of the not everything, but you sort of get my drift, right? There are like higher level concepts that are even like that's like the next level, and that, if I ever get to the end of that, that's going to be really interesting. I'll let you know if my love subsides in the next 10 years or so. I can't remember how long I've been doing this thing now, but I hope that you sort of get my drift. It's sort of like you have matured as an individual, and your love is still as strong in the beginning. It's just that now you have to work a little bit harder at it to maintain your enthusiasm, if that makes sense. So what I want you to take away from this is that, yes, I find that my love for software development just keeps on growing. I cannot get enough of it. Honest to God. It is the best thing that has ever happened to me in terms of like hobbies, because I do it as a hobby, and I do it as a job full time. That's, unless you haven't figured that out by now, all of this stuff, guys, like this entire video channel little thing that I make is dirt cheap. It takes me less, like, literally I don't even have a script or anything like that. Everything like this the thing I'm saying right now is at the top of my head, and I'm not going to do anything else with it because it's just a hobby. This is just another manifestation of my love for this craft. And everything, all the other time that you don't see me on this little screen here, or whatever you're watching, I spend either resting to go and program or program almost all the time. I have tons of personal projects, which is like the thing that I was talking about, where it's gotten to the point where it's less interesting for me to look at what other people are doing. I still have like newsletters and like all that stuff. So if because sometimes somebody has a really cool thing or a cool idea and you want to check it out, but it's less and less likely that happens. No, it happens more seldom. So now I'm forced to go out on my own and sort of discover my own stuff, and then if I find something extra interesting, I might make a video about it or a post or something about it and say, hey, I've played around with this thing here, check it out. If you find it cool, then that's great, super happy. And so I continuously find that there's just more and more and more, and I'm really wondering if that's ever going to stop. I hope that it doesn't, because as long as this continues, I'm basically set for life. And another thing that is a sidetrack, which has really been useful, is that when you work in software development and you work as an engineer, you sort of also learn a lot about how to manage different types of people. A lot of the soft skills and personal maturity, and like how to maneuver in an environment where you might know a lot of stuff, and then you need to talk to a lot of people who may not know the same stuff that you know, has also grown me as a person in terms of my understanding and appreciation for other people, where I realized that just because someone is richer, stronger, smarter, etc., that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is the only person that matters in an ecosystem of other people. What's really important is how everything fits together, how everybody works together. And as a person who, as an engineer, for example, when you work in a software company, you realize very quickly that, sure, in theory, a lot of the stuff that other people around you do, you could probably figure out if you really wanted to. But the question is, do you want that? And when you realize that there's a lot of people who may not be as, super smart with computers as you are, it's actually really useful to learn how to deal with different types of people. It's sort of like, well, as my boss once told me, Fredrik, just think about other teams, other people as an API that you need to learn how to figure out. And the thing is, you could build that entire API and do all the things and build your own system that does the same thing. But do you really want to? Because you are doing this thing over here, and if you want to be able to focus on that thing over there, well, somebody else has to help you with some stuff as well, even if you are super smart or super strong or super rich or so forth. And that's also something that I found to be very interesting, which further grows my love for engineering, because the better I get at it, the more my eyes open to other things. Have a great day.